It's always coming from the source. Today we're grateful, and we're grateful for faith. And that sounds like a peculiar thing, to be grateful for faith. But truly, when we think about gratitude and when we think about faith and what faith really means, then there's a deep appreciation. If you just take a moment as you were listening to the song, watching the beauty and listening to the beauty of the lyrics, there's something in you that recognizes the truth. Something within you. That thing is invisible. It's indestructible. It's indivisible. I already said that. It's forever, eternal, birthless, and deathless, changeless. That thing that sits upon the bough and sings is the presence of God. And it is nearer than breathing, closer than hands and feet, as Scripture says. And because our emphasis in metaphysics is so much on the intellect and using the science of the mind, we sometimes forget that there is also the presence of God that's always guiding the way, showing the way, lighting the way. It's always there. And so when we get still, we hear it. We feel it. So one of the definitions of faith from Hebrews is, now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The evidence of things not seen, and the stuff of things that are hoped for. So what your heart longs for, what it is that it longs for, that's what faith is. And Ernest Holmes went on to say something more. He said, and this is on page 341 of the textbook, when the intellect is no longer contradicted by our emotional reactions, our unconscious doubts and fears, then the word of our mouth will bear immediate fruit. Well, let me say that again. He says, when the intellect is no longer contradicted by our emotional reactions, that's pretty easy to understand. When your buttons are still there, but no one can push them anymore. Even the person that installed them can't push them. You know what I'm saying? No emotional reactions. And so we learn to think about what we're thinking about. And we get graceful at that. We get better at that. And we learn to think truer thoughts. We think calm thoughts. We think God thoughts. But then there's this next part, by unconscious doubts and fears. What that means is those are the things you don't know that are part of your belief system, part of your inner workings. It's what you don't know consciously that is getting in the way. And so we learn to deal with that, with those subconscious fears and doubts. And how do you know if you have any?
You're breathing.
That's one way. You're breathing. You're breathing. If you're not manifesting immediately your heart's, what he says there, then the word of our mouth will bear immediate fruit. Now, put your hand up if you think you're ready to bear immediate fruit all the time. Good for you. I know I'm not, because I was thinking about the words that come out of my mouth. And I was thinking about, probably it's a good thing that I'm not able to immediately demonstrate, because there'd be people that be pillars of salt all over the place, starting with myself. However, we do want to bear fruit more quickly. We do want our dreams to come into expression. And what we know, why we celebrate faith, is we know that the desire that's in our heart, that which we long for, was placed there by the Creator within us. It came from the divine idea, came from God. So it's a God idea, and therefore is worthy of fulfillment through you. And there's absolutely nothing that wouldn't be so for. Absolutely everything. So our move here, our space, our new home, absolutely worthy of. Our great health, our friends, our family. I know that November, we often take a lot of time just thinking about what are we grateful for right now? What's good right now in my life? Not the future, but right now. And what we also know is if we only bring the past with us, then the future is going to be exactly what it is right now. So we need to be able to stretch into that future moment with gratitude, saying, thank you, God, for this greater good that I'm willing to express, And you know, it comes through us. That's why the word of our mouth is so important. It comes through us. It comes through our beliefs, through our thoughts, through us. When there's a teaching story about a couple of kingdoms in India, and the great god, I think Vishnu. Anyway, he decided to come down to earth and look at these kingdoms. One of the kingdoms was ruled by a very miserly king, and the miserly king saw evil everywhere. And so Vishnu said, here's your assignment. I will give you anything you desire, but find one truly good person in your kingdom. And so the king went out and searched, and he searched and took months and years, and he came back and he said to Vishnu, I'm so sorry, Lord Master Vishnu, but there isn't one single person that is truly good. Everyone has selfish motives. Everyone has ulterior reasons for being. And Vishnu zapped him, and that was the end of the king. Vishnu had another kingdom. That was the end of the king. Pulverized. Toast. We do not believe in that kind of God. But he also went to a kingdom where a queen was reigning. And the queen was so graceful and so filled with joy and beauty. And he said, now your assignment is to find one truly evil person in your kingdom. And if you do, I will reward you handsomely. So she went up. She really took it seriously. She interviewed every single person in her kingdom, all the peasants, everyone. And she came back to Vishnu and she said, Lord Vishnu, I am so sorry. I have failed in your request. Although I found unskillful people, I found people who had been injured and harmed and were hurt. I did not find one truly evil person in all of my kingdom. And he rewarded her handsomely. You see, we have that choice in every moment to perceive correctly, to perceive that good is happening, God is happening, no matter where we are. So Ernest also says, this is a science of faith we are seeking to uncover, a definite technique that will conduct our minds through a process of thought, if necessary, to that place that the sublime minds of all ages have reached by direct intuition. A science of faith. A science of faith. Which means that our principle is very easy to restate. It means that what we believe, we read it earlier in the service, is that God is everywhere and God is in our words and is responding to our ideas, our thoughts, our beliefs, and it is done unto us as we believe. So if we believe a certain way, then that's going to be our experience. But we can grow in that. There's a Christian writer by the name of Sharon Salzberg, and she talks about she talks about the difference between faith and belief. And I thought it was pretty interesting. She said, faith in contrast to belief is not a definition of reality, not a received answer, but an active open state that makes us willing to explore. And think about what sometimes our beliefs are passed down from generations. It's what our grandparents believed, what our parents believed, our uncles and aunts believed, what our culture believed, what our country believes. And so our beliefs never really got really examined. But more than that, we cling to them as the truth. We cling to our beliefs. Well, it's so, and that's the basis of most arguments, isn't it? Because my belief versus your belief, and someone's going to be right and the other person is not going to be right. But in faith, there's no reason to cling. There's no reason to cling. So we can go to the next slide, Andy. This is an Alan Watts quote, and I love it. Belief clings, faith lets go. So when we truly have the faith of God, which is what we want to have, not the faith in God, but when we see our world like God sees it, then we simply surrender, we let go. We don't have to make things happen any longer. We can simply allow God to move through us, happening through us. Now, I'm just the same as you. Although I've been studying this for so long and I get better and better at some parts and then other parts. And right now I'm doing this marvelous work with Stephanie Reese called Brain Advantage. And it's for everybody to improve their life and to improve their cognition and their everything. Well, here's the thing that I discovered. The things that I thought I was good at, not that good at them. And the things that I thought anyway that I wasn't good at, I'm getting better at. When she came over to the old church and she did a series on the brain, one of the things she brought some equipment with her. One of the things she brought was this clapping machine. So you're going to appreciate this, Jean, because some of the notes I played weren't quite on beat. Where's David? But anyway, I got zero when she brought the machine over. And you listen to a little beat, and then how many is it? A hundredth of a second or a tenth of a second or it? Yeah, but yes. 24 milliseconds. Well, you know how seldom I got that? Well, when she first came over, zero. And I've been working on it 3 times a week for a couple of weeks. And I'm now at 15%, which is incredibly good. But I didn't even know I couldn't hear the beat. I didn't know that there was a processing time that wasn't happening. And it must have, imagine, I used to direct a choir. How did I do it? You gotta have faith. So what I know is that with clear intention, everything about us can improve and grow. Everything about us. And with the willingness, see, here's the part. It's uncomfortable to learn what you don't know. I get frustrated. I get impatient because I know I don't know it and I know I'm not doing well and I've got this perfectionistic part of me that wants to do it all right now, and that doesn't work. That actually makes it worse. That perfectionistic part that you want to do it right now. What works is our principle. What works is to get quiet and recognize there's something in you that does know. Trust it and grow through it. Grow through it. This Thanksgiving week, I'm encouraging us to be so grateful for knowing what we know. I mean, how good is it to know that there is this presence that's responding to us, that it loves us, because it's love, it can't help itself. We don't have to do anything to be loved because we're already loved. And plus, it trusts us with itself. It's given us this gift of use of the law. And so we simply use it. We simply use it. Oriah Mountain Dreamer, in one of her books, which I brought with me, but we don't have in the bookstore, so I'd have to lend you mine, quotes Robert Bly. And we're going to the last thing, Andy. So this poem is entitled Things to Think. Now, here's my disclaimer. Oftentimes, you'll come to a center like this and we don't tell you what to think, but how to think, and that's the truth. But these are some suggestions for what to think. You don't have to use them if you don't want to, but anyway, think in ways you've never thought before. If the phone rings, think of it as carrying a message larger than anything you've heard, vaster than 100 lines of Yeats. Think that someone may bring a bear to your door, maybe wounded or deranged. Or think that a moose has risen out of the lake and he's carrying on his antlers a child of your own whom you've never seen. When someone knocks on the door, think that he's about to give you something large, tell you when you're forgiven, or that it's not necessary to work all the time, or that it's been decided that if you lie down, no one will die. Isn't that a great poem? What a great poem to take into this week with us, to be gentle with ourselves. You don't have to do Thanksgiving perfectly. You don't have to be with your loved ones perfectly. You just need to trust that presence within you to bring you gifts. Whoever is at the door, it's always God. You are the face of God, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know I